Joyce, for some reason, we all love the idea of changing the people around us. We want to change our kids. We want to change our coworkers.
Yes.
We definitely want to change our spouses. So let's talk today about accepting people the way they are. Is that even something we can do? Is it possible?
Well, first of all, it's interesting. We want to make everybody the way we are.
That's really
And
true.
God gives us all certain gifts, but we all have certain weaknesses. And he did that on purpose. Of course, God knows what he's doing. He does it on purpose. Because that way we need each other. And so most people, let's say in a marriage relationship, they're married to somebody that's really pretty much totally the opposite of them. That's not always the case, but
Often.
often it is.
Yeah, it's true in yours and in mine.
Yeah, and many other people
Yeah.
I know that are like that also. And so you have a tendency to want people to be strong where you are, and God puts you with people that are not like you, so you fill up each other's weaknesses. Mm-hmm. And Dave and I spent a lot of years, well, I did it more than he did. I was trying to change him. And for example, he's a little more laid back, and I'm real, let's go get him, let's go, type A, aggressive. He's a little more chilled out. And I remember I was nagging at him one day about, you need to be more aggressive, you need to be this, you need to be that. And he said, you better be thankful that I am the way I am, or you sure wouldn't be doing what you're doing. And so that's exactly right. And we finally came to terms with, we're different. And God did that on purpose. And it took years, but hopefully we can save some people some time.
Yeah.
And
how'd you come to terms with it?
well, actually, one day we finally just shook hands, and I said, I agree to stop trying to change you. And he said, I agree to stop trying to change you.
I love that. You actually shook on it.
Yeah, we actually had you see, the thing is people can't change people.
Yeah.
All you can really do is you can give them a bunch of laws and rules and tell them, if you don't do this, then I won't stay with you. And if you don't do that, then you're not going to be my friend. And if you don't do this. Well, if that's not a person's temperament, no matter how much you want them to do that, let's just say somebody that moves real slow. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but somebody that moves real slow, if you try to get them to hurry, they slow down because it puts pressure on them. And they go slower.
Throws them off.
Go slower. Well, usually somebody who's a little slower moving invariably will be married to somebody that's like, and
that person probably needs to slow down.
Right. And well, usually that's what it is. It's like you can use each other as an example. Like I finally realized Dave was so peaceful. Well, finally he became an example to me of the peace that I could have.
Yeah.
And people get divorces over this. It's a big mistake to marry somebody thinking, I'll change you once we're married, because people resist people trying to put them into a mold. The Bible says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the entire renewal of your mind. So transformation comes from the inside out. Confirmation comes from somebody trying to stick you into a box that you don't fit into. And so
that's really painful. When somebody always makes you feel like you're not right.
Yeah, it makes you feel rejected all the time.
Yeah.
And, if you have any insecurities, which most people do have some, that just increases them all the more. And it's amazing how we forget what we loved about the person to start with. The thing that drew you to them probably was the fact that they were strong where you were weak. You just didn't really realize what it was.
Yeah.
And
were there things that Dave could have been that way with you, but instead he let you be you?
Well, that's the thing that, Dave and I have been married 54 years now, and we not only are married and, of course, live together, but we work together. And so we are together.
Together a lot.
Together. And, but Dave, really, the thing that I appreciate about him probably more than anything else, and there's a lot of things, but he lets me be me. Now, if I get a little too feisty, He won't let me be disrespectful.
Yeah.
You know, if he feels real strongly about something, no matter how much I don't like it, he will do it anyway. But for example, I need time by myself. And sometimes I'll go away for as much as 2 weeks to write by myself. Mm-hmm. Well, somebody could say, well, why can't you write at home? You know, but we all have different needs, and you need to be willing to meet the other person's needs instead of expecting them to always meet your needs.
Right.
And I came to what I would call like a crisis point where I either was going to accept Dave the way he was, love him the way he was, or I was going to have to get out of the relationship. And obviously, I didn't want to do that. I loved him, and we were in ministry together, and I didn't want to hurt other people. And I basically made a decision that I was going to not focus on the one or two things that I didn't like, and I was going to focus on all the many wonderful things about him.
Yeah.
And I know somebody right now that's in the process of talking about getting a divorce for this very same reason. They're different, and they keep trying to change each other, and you just can't do that. Now, in saying that, let me say this. We have a God-given temperament, and that's what you can't change. Our personality is a little different than our temperament. Our personality is a combination of our God-given temperament plus the things that happen to you as you're growing up.
Okay.
Like, God gave me a temperament that I will always be aggressive. I'll always be a quick decision maker. I'll probably always talk a little more than maybe is the best thing in the world. But then being abused as a child perverted some of those character traits. And so I became not just a strong personality, but a rebellious personality.
Yeah.
So when I say we got to accept each other the way we are, I don't mean that you accept the sinful part of people and just say, well, that's okay. You know, it's, you
Right,
know,
yeah.
I realize that you're an alcoholic and it's just fine. You know, that's.
Right. So you're saying there are things we do not accept.
Yeah, there are things that you do not accept, and you may have to tell the person you either have to get some help or, you know, I can't stay with you. I don't think you should let somebody disrespect you and mistreat you and abuse you. Like my mother let my dad slap her around and talk down to her, and in the process, she let him do a lot of things to me that she should have protected me from. That's not the kind of thing I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm talking about accepting the God-given parts of people that maybe are very different than you, but that doesn't make them not valuable.
Right. But it's very much the same with our children as well, right? We have children with very different temperaments and personalities, and we have to let them be them, but at the same time guide them and see what God does with them. So that's hard too sometimes.
And you have to be willing to have different relationships with your children as they grow and mature.
Very true. Yeah.
You know, when you have adult children, one of the things that ruins relationships with adult children is not realizing that they are now adult.
Yeah.
They are your children, but they're not little kids that you still tell what to do all the time. And you have to learn that, this is just a blunt way to say it, you have to learn how to keep your nose out of their business unless they invite you into it. Mm-hmm. Now, you know, I have 4 grown children, and some of them are just fine if I give them my opinion, and some of them aren't so fine. So you have to learn how to meet people where they're at.
Right.
Instead of expecting everybody to meet you where you're at, you have to learn that it's God gives people permission to be who they are. Even God won't try to control people. Control is a form of witchcraft.
Yeah.
You know, and so God won't try to control us. He'll suggest things to us, but he doesn't push it off on us and make us do things the way that he wants us to do them. And so if we can see the beauty in the differences that we have, rather than thinking, well, there's something wrong with
That's
you
really
because
key.
you're not like me.
Yeah.
Because really the differences that we have are beautiful, and it's what makes it's what makes the world work. You know, can you imagine if everybody in the world was just like me or just like you or
It
just
would
like
not
it?
be good.
It wouldn't be good. And really, you really wouldn't want to be married to somebody that was just exactly like you. It would be super boring. I remember one girl telling me one time her and her husband were both real strong, what you would call phlegmatic, easygoing, laid-back people. And she said, we never fight, but we don't get anything done either. And so, you know, it's... or if you have two really strong type A's, I'm not saying it can't work, but you have to really know how to give each other space and how to respect that personality.
Right.
And I think one of the things that is really needs to be looked at before you get married, and if you haven't done it, you really need to get some information, read some books about the God-given different temperaments. And
It is so helpful.
and how they are, because that was a lifesaver for me. When I read those books and learned that everybody just is different and that it's God's will,
Yeah.
and that it was very offensive even to God for me to keep trying to change everybody, it's such a point of pride to think that you're the one that's right about everything and everybody should be like you.
Yeah.
And so,
You're right. It is a great suggestion, and I think seeing you and Dave walking through this teaches us really a lot that
Yeah.
it's possible. We can put that pride down.
Right.
We can accept people the way that they are.
Right.
And see God work through it.
yeah,
Bring good things into both of our lives.
exactly. And
Thank
so
you,
that
Joyce.
can heal